Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome to the middle of Ramadan. Inshallah, we're in the middle of Ramadan right now, and it's also a full moon. Please, if you can put your microphones on mute. If they're not on mute, then just keep them on mute during the session, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم مدد يا رسول الله مدد يا رجال الله أعينونا بعون الله أغيثونا بغوث الله. So inshallah today we'll be continuing on our journey through this holy month, this month of openings, this month of revelation, this month that the Quran al-Karim was brought down to this planet to be a guidance for humanity. And inshallah, through guidance, we are able to live our lives in the most auspicious way, in a way that is most favorable to our own design, the way we've been designed, the way we've been created, the way we've been fashioned through this powerful force, this great and powerful creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has fashioned us from clay. And through our own being, He has placed many, many secrets within our beings, and He has also placed great favor upon us, and He has shown us that we have been favored over many other creatures of His creation. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran Kareem, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي Adam. So we have favored the children of Adam, we have been generous. The word comes from takreem, to honor or to show generosity. And through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's takreem, He has basically given us tremendous favors. One of these favors is called hikmah. Hikmah means wisdom. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَمَنْ أُوتِيَ الْحِكْمَةَ فَقَدْ أُوتِيَ خَيْرٌ كَثِيرًا. Whoever received hikmah, for he or she will receive a great bounty. There is great blessing in hikmah. And the Quran Kareem is a book of guidance. It's also a book of wisdom. There's a lot of wisdom in the Quran for those who can understand the wisdom that therein is. So inshallah today we'll be looking into some of the verses of the Quran that talk about the human being. And the human being is a very, very interesting creature. God has many, many verses about the archetype. What are the archetypes of this human being? And what are the different stages that the soul can ascend through these different archetypes? And the Quran speaks about 7 archetypes. And these archetypes are described as Nafs. So the word Nafs means self, or it could mean soul. But the word Nafs also comes from the Arabic tanaffus or nafas, which means to breathe, to inhale, to respire. And our world on this planet is dependent on our own respiration. If we don't respire, that means we cannot inhale, we cannot bring oxygen into our bloodstream, and therefore our soul will find it, our spirit will find it very difficult to live in the body, and will have to leave the body. So the gateway of life is breath. And there is also a lot of understanding and wisdom that comes from breathing. If we are able to clear our thoughts and clear our emotions, then the lowest common denominator would be our breath. It is the one thing that we cannot stop doing. Same thing with our heartbeat. We can choose not to eat, we can choose not to drink, but we cannot choose not to breathe. We cannot choose not to have a heartbeat. And these are things that you can consider like a clock. If you have a clock and the battery dies out, then the clock will stop ticking. And so the clockmaker, we would take the clock to a clockmaker and they would install a battery, and that battery would give life back to the clock and allow it to tick again. And sometimes, even though the inner machinery is still working, there is a spiritual heart and there is a spiritual tick-tock that is occurring at all times. And sometimes the sound of that tick-tock gets drowned by the sound of ordinary life. And slowly but surely, the spiritual tick-tock of the beating spiritual heart begins to fade away and simply dies down and dies out. And Allah says, "Ala bi dhikrillahi tatma'innal qulub." Is it not by the remembrance of Allah that hearts are made to be satiated, to be restful, to be recharged, to be rejuvenated? So there is a energy that is required for the ticking of the spiritual heart and the physical heart, but especially the spiritual heart. And through the spectrum of what we call consciousness, everything is a conscious being, because we know that Allah says, "Sabbaha lillahi ma fis samawati wa ma fil ard." Everything in the heaven and the earth makes tasbih, is remembering Allah, is praising Allah, but we cannot understand it. We cannot fathom it. And so every being in creation is a conscious being. However, not all beings are equal in their consciousness. Another word for consciousness is taqwa. It's usually translated as piety, but it's more of an awareness. It's more of an awareness that is that will basically help us in our evolution of consciousness. So taqwa can mean awareness, it can mean consciousness. And what exactly is this kind of consciousness? What is demanded from this consciousness? Well, Archangel Gabriel taught the Prophet Muhammad what this consciousness means, and he described as ihsan. It's a state of excellence that is to worship Allah as if you see Him, and know that if you cannot see Him, then He sees you. That means you're always aware of your Creator. You're always aware that your own breath is dependent on the spirit that is keeping you breathing, that is keeping you alive at every moment. And when we become aware of that fact that we are not here of our own accord, and that we are not here because we just decided to come to existence, but there's a greater power that is keeping us alive, that is keeping us well, that is keeping us involved in the process of creation. So when we become aware of that, that is the first veil of ghafla, or heedlessness, that is removed away from us. And through this veil of heedlessness, as that is removed from us, we can begin to ascend in our consciousness. So if we choose a rock is conscious, but it's limited in its consciousness because it cannot really respond to its surrounding. But then you have a plant that is more conscious because it can respond to light, it can respond to water, it can respond to nutrients, air, and it can respond to its environment. And then an animal, where that response is increased, where that consciousness is increased, and the animal can respond to its surrounding. And then a human being, where basically the human being can respond even more than an animal. It can come up with, solve complex problems. It can um, think outside of the box. It can create new paths, new ways, new realizations, new understandings of consciousness. So we see the spectrum, but even within human beings, not all humans are equal. Some humans are less conscious of their actions and they behave badly and they think that they're doing a good job. And some uh, beings that are so conscious of what they're doing and understand the repercussions and the consequences of their actions, not only for others, but also for themselves. And so they can actually begin to muraqib, what we say muraqib or turaqib, to be able to watch over every thought and every action and every emotion that is going in, because they are aware that their body is responding and reacting simply like an echo in this universe. And every thought that they create has an energy, has a power. And that thought must, if it's wholesome, then it can be nourished. But if it's unwholesome, then it must be removed. Like a garden where you have roses and flowers and weeds. If you don't remove the weeds, you don't remove the negative thoughts, well, the weeds will take over the garden and kill your flowers. So conscious beings are like, conscious people are like gardeners. They tend to the garden of the mind, and they constantly try to cultivate their minds and make it more beautiful and more glamorous and more magnificent in its beauty and its richness. And the Prophet ﷺ and all the prophets are the most conscious beings of humanity, because they not only were able to cultivate themselves, but they were also able to cultivate humanity. They were able to change people's characters, people who were drunkards, people who were burglars, villains, criminals, that were the worst behavior. Um, they were able to be transformed through the light of faith and through the consciousness that was espoused by these prophets into themselves being very, very conscious. So inshallah today we'll want to just look into how this process occurs exactly. What does this process entail? How do we go through this evolution of the self? So inshallah, bismillah, we mentioned last week a little bit about the energy centers in the body with the Surah Al-Fatiha and how Fatiha opens up these centers. And we spoke a little bit about the different egos or the selves. And today, inshallah, we'll be looking more deeper into the meaning of these selves. So the first self begins with the root center, and it is what connects us to the earth, what connects us to the material plane. And so this self is very is really a self that is based on action and reaction. Think of it as an animal in nature, a fight or flight response. If I can overpower my opponent, then I will do so. If I cannot overpower him, then I will run away. And the driver here is fear. The driving force of this conscious self is fear. And today we live in a world where, with all the advancements we have, with all the luxuries we have, unfortunately, we are still being taunted by fear. And we see fear in our newspapers. We see fear in our on YouTube. We see fear on TV channels. We see fear outside. We see fear everywhere. And it's almost like fear is the driving force to the way we live our life on earth today. And what fear does is a very, very low vibration that plummets our consciousness down to the first floor, to the evil commanding self, which is an-nafsul amara bisu. Innama an-nafsu amaratin bisu illa ma rahima rabbi. So the Quran speaks about, and this is in Surah Yusuf, where Joseph was saying that I do not excuse my own self. I don't excuse my own self, because my own self is also implicit. It is also, he is aware that he does have an evil commanding self, even though he's a prophet of God. But still, he has this part of his nature that is what we call the animal self, that is always seducing man to do things that are immoral, to do things that will involve a disobedience of the Creator. And so this evil commanding self is located in the base of the spine and is ruled by the root center, and is always commanding the person to choose the easiest path, what is convenient. And a lot of times when we come up with choices, decisions that we make, we look at, is this better for me or is this worse for me? And when we make the decision, we don't ask about, well, is this a moral decision? Is this a good decision? Or is this a bad decision? So when they see it as better or worse, they see it from a very materialistic point of view, rather than a moralistic point of view, rather than whether this thing is good for my soul, for my higher self, for my prospects in akhirah. They see it more of like, okay, what can I benefit from this situation? What can I get from the situation? What is it that I can basically take from the situation? And it's called what we call in Arabic maslaha, or interest. What are my interests in this situation? And when we look at things, when we make decisions based on self-interest and only self-interest, we may end up being blinded by power, blinded by accumulating more self-interest, and basically not being able to share whatever thing that we covet with other people. And it becomes an obsession. And so the first question we have to ask ourselves is that our egos are always constantly manipulating ourselves and everybody else so that it can get the maximum, it can get the best benefit of what it considers to be valuable. And that is the evil commanding self. Now, the Prophet Yusuf, he says something beautiful. He says, "Illa ma rahima Rabbi." So here was, for example, the story of the slave, Joseph the slave, who was taken from his land, sold to slavery in Egypt, works for a governor, is a slave of a rich and powerful governor. And, he could actually easily, by having this opportunity that was given to him of having Zulaikha, the wife of the governor, who was interested and favored Joseph, he could have easily manipulated Zulaikha. He could easily manipulate this opportunity that was given to him to do what? To be able to make his way up into the household, and then maybe poison the governor and marry the governor's wife and inherit his property and become the governor himself in a way. She could have set him free as a slave, and he could have become married to Zulaikha and the head of the household and inherit his wealth and his property and so on. And many slaves were doing that in ancient times. Many slaves would poison their masters, or they would run away with the mistress of their masters. And they would come up with schemes to be able to take control and power, especially that they themselves were considered to be dispossessed of all honor and wealth, and they would see their master as the enemy who put them into slavery. But here we see Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam, he says, As-sijnu ahabba ilay, the jail, the prison is better for me. It is more endearing for me, more loving for me than what they asked me to do. I'd rather go to jail than to commit zina, to commit adultery, to commit fornication, to go into this whole world of the ego and the self, and that the prison would do me good. So from a materialistic point of view, Joseph is a fool. Joseph had an amazing opportunity to rise through the ranks, but then he did not do that. He chose the opposite of that, and he ended up in prison where he could risk his own life, because prisons back in ancient times were not like prisons today. So there were infectious diseases, contagious diseases. Now people would die from malnutrition, people would die from disease, but he chose the path and he trusted in God, and he said, I'll do what's right, no matter what the consequences are, no matter what the future consequences are. I'm a moral man, and I will do what is right. I will do what is good. I choose goodness over the risk of losing my own life. So the question here is, how did he come up with this choice? How is he able to choose what is right? What is the ingredient that was needed for him to be able to make that choice? That is Rahmat Rabbna, the mercy of Allah, that he was trusting in the mercy of his Lord, that even if he would have an inauspicious outcome or consequence, the mercy of God would be able to save him from any negative situation that he was going to be in. And he trusted in that mercy, and therefore he was able to evolve in his consciousness. So the second level of an evolved consciousness is the second self, which is the Nafs al-Lawama. So the Nafs Amara Bisu is completely lost, does not know right from wrong, has no conscience of its own. The second self, however, does have a conscience and does know what's right and wrong. But even though they know what is right and wrong, they continue to do what is wrong while feeling guilty. And guilt is an energy that is, it's almost like a voice that's saying, I shouldn't be doing this. I am not at ease while committing this sin or committing this action that is wrong. And when we ignore that warning, when we ignore that guilt, we begin to get really angry. It creates a lot of anger because the soul, the spirit of God that's within the heart, is angry at the self for choosing to ignore the voice of the conscience and choosing to ignore what is right. And when a human being continues to ignore, then the anger increases and increases and increases. And that anger brings a type of an outcome where the person basically falls into their own, they attract their own kind of, the problem gets worse. Whatever thing that they were trying, there was no peace in what they're trying to take from this sin. So they basically fall into the trap of becoming bitter and beginning to blame. So they start blaming the people around them. They start blaming themselves, and they start blaming God. And this is the story of the curse of Cain and Abel. So Cain and Abel, who were two brothers, who were sons of Adam. One of Cain was older and Abel was younger. And God asked Cain and Abel to give them an offering. And Cain went to choose some vegetables from his garden and gave that as an offering to God. And Abel took his ram, his only ram, his biggest ram, and sacrificed it for God. And God accepted the offering of Abel, Habil, and did not accept the offering of Habil. And Cain was enraged. Why was he enraged? Because he did know that he was not giving his best. He did know that what he did, that he was slacking, that he was simply not taking this command seriously. So while doing it, he had the guilt. But when the confirmation of what he was doing was wrong was declared, there was also embarrassment. Cain felt embarrassed in front of his dad, in front of his mom, and he felt ashamed as well. And he felt jealous of his younger brother. That my younger brother would bring such pride, would make my parents proud, would make God proud, would make the world proud. And it was that mix of jealousy, anger, and shame that pushed Cain into the nafs al-lawwama, the blaming self. And he basically blamed who? He blamed God. He blamed God. He cursed God. He said, no, this is unjust. And he failed to take responsibility. And so what the nafs al-lawwama does usually is that it doesn't want to take responsibility. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is inviting us every single moment to take responsibility. The first response that you can take is to get out of denial, to admit, to simply say, yes. Cain could have just simply went to his parents and said, I know I was wrong. I know I was lazy. I know I was cheap. I didn't want to give what was best of what I had. I'm sorry. I did a mistake. I will repent to God. And the next time he asks for an offering, I will choose to do what is best. So that first response is what we call istighfar, asking for forgiveness, repenting, acknowledging that we've done a mistake. And instead of cursing God or cursing the world or blaming anybody, we start blaming ourselves, and we take responsibility for our own actions. The story is also found between Adam and the devil and Shaitaan. Same story happens again, where Shaitaan says what? He tries to curse God, and he tries to say, you put me in this situation. You made me do this because you are at fault. You are in control over everything. And like you have put me in the wrong, I will put all of Adam's children in the wrong with me. And so that response is not an intelligent response. It is a response that will keep you stuck in that blaming self, in the second self. But what did Adam alayhi salam do? He took responsibility. He said, you told me that I shouldn't eat from this tree, and I disobeyed you, and I ate from the tree. And I take 100% responsibility. And so Adam had adab, what we call adab, or manners, with Allah. And he asked Allah for forgiveness, and Allah granted him forgiveness because Allah is the most forgiving. And Adam became a prophet, and he was raised in his ranks through his own sin. He was raised through this rank. However, Iblis, the devil, he also had a sin. He also made a sin, but he was cast outside. He was brought down and cursed by refusing to take responsibility for his sin. And the inner child sometimes acts this way. The inner child loves to blame. It loves to blame everybody but itself. And so it takes some maturity. It takes some maturity to be able to say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, and I take responsibility for what I've done, despite the consequences, despite the future consequences of what may happen, again, because of the trust in the mercy of Allah, because Adam alayhi salam trusted that he has a merciful Lord, that he has a just and merciful Lord, and therefore he put his faith and his trust and his hope and his future and everything he believed in the hands of a merciful Lord. Where Iblis didn't see that. He saw his Lord as an unjust Lord. He saw him as an oppressor. And therefore, he didn't have that kind of faith. He didn't see the mercy in God. This third stage is the inspired self, which is ruled by the solar plexus and the stomach area. And the solar plexus the element of the solar plexus is fire. And the solar plexus is what we call the inspired self. So what is the inspired self? The Quran speaks about Nafsun wa ma sawaha, alhamaha fujuraha wa taqwaha. God is talking about the self. And he's saying there is a type of self that has been inspired. It has evil inspiration, fujur, and it has taqwa. It has pious inspiration. So there are two kinds of inspiration. There's inspiration that can come that is evil, and there is inspiration that can come that is good. And so good inspiration is coming from Allah or from the higher self. And evil inspiration is either coming from the lower self, which is at the base of the spine, or Shaitaan. And because Shaitaan is a fire being, this whisperings of the Shaitaan, the inspiration of the Shaitaan, can easily penetrate into the self and can basically wrongly inspire somebody to evil or to having the wrong projection, the wrong understanding of something. And this is a trap that usually a lot of good people fall into, right? So people who have been able to rise beyond the evil commanding self, so they don't commit sins, they rise beyond, they take responsibility for their mistakes and their actions, but still they are lacking something. They're lacking what? The intention. What is the intention behind these good deeds? A lot of times people do good things for the wrong reasons. And they basically, give charity because they want to be seen to be given charity. They want to be seen to be pious, to be humble, to do this and that. So the intention behind it, and sometimes this could be a subconscious intention, but it's usually about shame. And it's interesting because a lot of the awliya, the saints, in their training, they all come from well-respected families, well-respected jobs, jurists, ulama, scholars, and so on. and then their sheikh, their spiritual teacher, wants to go ahead and break their ego. What ego are they trying to break? They're trying to break the inspired self. And they try to do that by making the person to perform all kinds of embarrassing acts that they would never think about doing. So what are these kind of acts? Basically, if your ego says go to the right, they would take the opposite approach and they would go to the left. So anything that would bring self-aggrandizement, the ego would naturally favor it, and they would do the opposite. So, for example, Sidi ibn Ajiba from Morocco was going outside. He was a great scholar, a judge actually in Tetuan. And his sheikh asked him to go outside the mosque, dress up in a beggar's clothing, and to ask charity from the peers, from the people he used to work with outside that mosque. And they would put him in such degrading positions and situations where they would do things that they would never usually do. And all of that was done to be able to break the ego, to remove that the ego's power and self-entitlement, and to be able to break through the fear of shame. And the greatest fear that the inspired self has is the fear of shame. Because what people most are afraid about, they're afraid about other people. They're actually afraid of people's response. What will people think? What will people think of me? What will people think of me? And this question is really, really important to the inspired self. And the response is that it doesn't matter what people think about you. And only when you actually stop caring about what people think about you and start caring about what God thinks about you, then you can transcend that test and move into the heart center and go into self-love. Self-love means that you can actually, that the love of God is enough for you, that the love of people is not important anymore. What people think about you, how they see you, how they judge you, doesn't matter. The only thing that is important is God's pleasure on me and God's love on me, and what people think doesn't really matter. And that is the Nafs mutma'inna, which means the peaceful self, or the self that no longer is troubled, the self that is no longer troubled. Because nothing is more troubling than what people think about you, or what society judges you, or how they see you. And that really, really troubles a person's self-esteem. So if somebody can build their self-esteem not from how people love you or people would be pleased from you, but building your self-esteem from the love of God and from God's own pleasure on you, then that is the most powerful type of self-esteem that can take you to the an-nafs al-mutma'inna. So now we're in the fourth self, which is the peaceful self. It's finally at peace, no more trouble, no longer trouble. And that is the nafs al-mutma'inna. Now the Quran is addressing, notice that the God doesn't directly address any of these nafs, but now he says, Ya ayyuhat al-nafs al-mutma'inna, oh, you peaceful self, irja'i ila rabbik radiyatan mardiya. Return to your Lord. Now you can finally be able to return to your Lord. Now you are invited. Now that you no longer seek the pleasures of this world. Now that you no longer seek the pleasures of your ego, now that you no longer seek the pleasures of people and society, now you are free. Now the only thing that you seek is my pleasure. And God says, يا أيها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية. Return to your Lord, راضية and مرضية. And that is the fifth stage of the self's evolution, which is the Radi self, which means the pleased self. So this self is in a state of acceptance. It's basically in a state of acceptance and is pleased with whatever God has in store for it, whatever fate it has, whatever destiny it has. It's no longer fighting with God. It's no longer fighting with himself, and simply in a state of acceptance, in a state of surrender, submission, and peace, and is pleased with whatever outcome unfolds. And that is the pleased self. Now, above that, and that's the throat center, is the mardiya, the self that God is pleased with. When you are pleased with God, then God is pleased with you. But also when God is pleased with you, then you are pleased with God. So it's actually a reciprocal nature. It's interchangeable. And that is the third eye, self, which is that everything that you do becomes a way to please God, and everything that you do, whether was successful or unsuccessful, will please God because it is your intention that matters here. Your intention was to please God doing it. And so God is pleased from you just by following that intention. Even if it doesn't work out the way that it wasn't supposed to work out. If it was meant to work out, then that God would have allowed it to work out. But that's not the point here. God sometimes doesn't really want it to work out, but is testing you to see what is your intention. Are you going to follow the guidance? Are you going to do what was written for you to be done? Or will you choose to follow your ego? So these small tests start becoming more and more apparent. And the purpose is to cultivate this letting go, this surrender, into following things that are sometimes not very logical from an outer perspective, from an outsider point of view. And that's the Nafs al-Mardiya. Again, we have the story in the Quran about what Sayyidina al-Khidr, where he says, I did not do this from my own volition. He did things that Musa was not pleased with. Everything he did, Musa wasn't pleased with. And Musa was a great prophet. But he the three things he did, and this is in Surah Al-Kahf, we can't go through the whole thing right now, but you can read about it more in the Kahf. But what Khidr alayhi salam did, he did everything not to please Musa, but to please his Lord. And he says, I did not do this from my own volition. That is the ta'wil, that is the interpretation that you could not be patient with. So there was an inspiration that God was giving Sayyidina al-Khidr. And because he only wanted to please God, and he was not afraid of what people would do or say, despite no matter what the consequences were, he chose to trust God and follow his volition. And that is the Nafs al-Mardiya. And when you go into the Nafs al-Mardiya, then you enter into the seventh self. ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وَادْخُلِي جَنَّتِي. And now you may enter in my servant. It doesn't say with my servant. It says in my servant. Now you can enter in my servanthood. It's almost like you're getting a position at a company, or you're in a job, you're in a role. And now that you've been, everything that you did before was an audition to get the job. These are all tests or interview questions that you can get that job. And finally, if your HR manager or your interviewer is happy from the way you answer those questions or the way you think or your experience or whatever, then you will get that job. And when you get the job, you're in that role. You're assigned that role. And the role that Allah assigns you is to be one of His ibad, to be Abdullah. And He says, enter in my servant. Enter in my servant. Enter into this position. Dkhuli fi ibadi, wadkhuli jannati. And enter my garden. So, So this is the position to be Abdullah. And as you can see, it is a lengthy process that requires a lot of, it requires a roadmap and requires knowing how to answer these questions correctly. And because if you don't answer the questions correctly, you'll just keep repeating the test until if you fail the exam, you keep having to do the test again until you get those questions in the right way. So the end result is that you become a Abdullah and you are in the service of Allah and you are in the private Jannah, the private garden of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there's a khususiyah, there's a certain type of specialty that is actually, you become a specialist in serving Allah. You're no longer just mediocre in your service because you have no other intention. You're not here to serve dunya, serve your hawa, your passion, your ego. You know, you're not here to serve your life purpose. You're here to serve your soul purpose. So your only passion is to serve Allah. And God will say, you know, if you have skills, the HR manager will say, I think you're fit for this role. But it's not you to decide what role are you going to be fit in. For example, if you are a doctor, well then, God will say, okay, you have the skill of medicine. I'm going to put you in a role where you can help people through medicine. Another person is a farmer. I'm going to put you in that role to be able to bring food for people. So they're different servants. They're both servants of Allah, but they serve based on their fitrah, based on their own nature, based on their own aptitude, their own skills, and their own personality, and their own archetype that is unique to their own personality. And so we have, like, you know, say the Sahaba, the companions, each one was a servant of Allah, but each one served with a different capacity. And these different capacities are usually attributed by different archetypes. It could be like a warrior archetype, or a teacher archetype, or a healer archetype. And there are different archetypes that are unique to each human being. And Allah bestows one of the names of Allah. So basically Allah will say, for example, you become Abdul Wadud, or you become Abdul Alim, Are you bi Abd al-Fattah? Are you bi Abd al-Basit? Are you bi Abd al-Qahar? And therefore, your aptitude is assigned by a certain sifa, or a name of Allah, that is assigned only to you. Alhamdulillah. So inshallah, this is the talk that we discussed today, and inshallah now we will go into the meditation, and we will go deep and deep into this meditation to be able to visit those different energy centers in the body, and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to purify us, to raise us from the nafs al-ammara to the nafs al-lawwama, to the nafs al-mulhima, to the nafs al-mutma'inna, to the nafs al-radiya, to the nafs al-mardiya, and then to become from his ibadullah salihin. So we ask Allah to purify us, and to raise us and help us evolve through these different selves that are, and every human being knows. We all know where we are. We all know in which rank or position we are in. And sometimes people can fall. So sometimes you can be in mutma'inna, and then you fall to mulhima, or you fall to lawama. So it's not something that is guaranteed. There's no guarantee. It requires a lot of work and constant purification, and working on your consciousness so that you can maintain that consciousness, right? So the 5 prayers we do in Islam, they're done daily. They're not just done once. So it's all about the daily efforts. Every yawm jadid rizqan jadid, every day, new providence, new challenges, new tests, new learning. Every day is unique. Every day is new, is another step in that evolution of consciousness. All right, bismillah. So let's begin, inshallah. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. Take a deep breath and let go. Raise your arms upwards. Inhale deeply. Inhale all the way down to your spine. And exhale. Lower your arms. Inhale deeply. Raise your arms. All the way up. And exhale deeply. Inhale deeply. All the way up. And exhale. Imagine yourself walking on a long sandy beach. And feel the wind blowing on your face, your shoulders, your arms, and your legs. Feel the gentle breeze. Cool breeze on your body as you place your feet in the water and feel the gentle waves moving now between your feet. Take a deep breath and take a step forward and feel the waves moving now between your knees. Take a deep breath and take a step forward and feel the waves bouncing off your belly. Look out into the horizon and see the sun setting in the horizon, a beautiful orange disk, filling your body with a warm orange glow. Loosening all stress, worries, anger, resentment, down into the sea below. I release all blame. I take responsibility over my own mistakes. I release all blame, and I take full responsibility for my own mistakes. I release all blame, and I take full responsibility for all my mistakes. Everything bad comes from me, and everything good comes from Allah. Everything bad comes from me, and everything good comes from Allah. Everything bad comes from me, and everything good comes from Allah. I release all shame, and I forgive myself. I forgive myself from all the things and all the mistakes I've done, and I accept myself for being a sinful servant of Allah, trying my best to be more sincere in my worship of Allah. I release all shame, and I accept myself and who I am and who I'm not. I release all sadness and pity towards myself. I underestimate my own power, and I believe in the power of Allah, who can give this power to whom He likes. And I believe in the mercy of Allah, who He can bestow this mercy on who He likes. I trust in His mercy. O Allah, don't take me into account with your justice, but take me into an account with your mercy that is all infinite and all encompassing. O Allah, I trust in your mercy, and I accept your mercy fully and completely in my life. For you know, and I know not. For you are, and I am not. For you have, and I have not. O Allah, I am ignorant, and you are all-knowing. Teach me from your knowledge. O Allah, I am ignorant, and you are all-knowing. Teach me from your knowing. O Allah, I am ignorant, and you are all-knowing. Teach me from your knowledge. O Allah, I am weak, and you are all-powerful. Give me from your power. O Allah, I am weak, and you are all-powerful. Grant me from your power. O Allah, I am weak, and you are all-powerful. Grant me from your power. O Allah, I am poor, and you are all rich. Grant me from your riches. O Allah, I am poor, and you are all rich. Grant me from your riches. O Allah, I am poor, and you are all rich. Grant me and sustain me from your riches. My Lord, I have oppressed myself. Have mercy on me, and take me from the darkness of my own oppression into the light of your mercy, your favor, and your love. Take a deep breath and dive, 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 deeper and deeper, deeper and deeper into the endless ocean of emerald green light. You inhale the green light into your lungs and into your heart, your arms and your legs. Every cell and every pore within your body is now being purified by this brilliant emerald green light. Move your attention to your heart. Your heart center is a being of divine love, divine light, and divine power. Say words of peace and kindness to this being of divine love. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. And wait for the response. Can you feel your heart expand as a pink rose, opening up, blossoming and blooming, petal after petal, expanding bigger and bigger, brighter and brighter, releasing the beautiful fragrance of rose. The feeling is wonderful. Imagine now, on your crown, a white rose opening up, blossoming and blooming, petal after petal, and releasing the fragrance of musk, sweet musk. And imagine now, at your belly, a red rose opening up, blossoming and blooming, petal after petal, releasing a warmth in your core. Let us now invoke for divine love, divine light, and divine power. Imagine a waterfall of luminous white light flowing down your crown, your forehead, your throat, your heart, your stomach, your belly, all the way down your spine, your knees, and your feet. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Astaghfirullah, 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 astaghfirullah. Astaghfirullah, 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 astaghfirullah. Astaghfirullah, 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 astaghfirullah. Astaghfirullah, 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 astaghfirullah. Astaghfirullah, 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 astaghfirullah. Astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. أستغفر الله العظيم الذي لا إله إلا هو عليه توكلت وهو رب العرش العظيم. The luminous white light flows down into your forehead. Your forehead is a being of divine love, divine light, and divine power. Say words of peace and kindness to this being of divine light. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Wait for the response. La ilaha illahu. La ilaha illahu. La ilaha illahu. Yahu. 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 Hum. Hum. إله إلا هو لا إله إلا هو. Luminous white light flows down to your throat. Your throat center is a being of divine love, divine light, and divine truth. Say words of peace and truth to this being of divine truth. Truth has arrived, and falsehood has vanished, for falsehood always vanishes. Haq, truth. Haq, 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 haq. قل جاء الحق وزهق الباطل إن الباطل كان زهوقا. The luminous white light flows down into your heart. Your heart center is a being of divine love, divine light, and divine truth. Say words of peace and kindness to this being of divine love. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Wait for the response. حميم عين سين قاف حميم عين سين قاف فاعلم أنه فاعلم أنه فاعلم أنه لا إله إلا الله 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 إلا الله لا إله إلا الله إلا الله لا إله 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 إلا الله محمد رسول الله عليه صلاة الله لا إله إلا الله عيسى روح الله عليه صلاة الله. Jesus is the Spirit of Allah, peace be upon him. لا إله إلا الله موسى كلم الله عليه صلاة الله لا إله إلا الله إبراهيم خليل الله عليه صلاة الله. Abraham is the friend of Allah, peace be upon him. لا إله إلا الله نوح نبي الله عليه صلاة الله Noah is the savior of Allah, peace be upon him. La ilaha illallah. Adam Safiyullah alayhi salatullah. Adam is the chosen one of Allah, peace be upon him. Is it not by the remembrance of Allah that hearts are made to rest? ألا بذكر الله تطمئن القلوب بلى يا الله 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 Allah, 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 Allah. Allah, 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 Allahu, 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 Allah Haq, 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 Allahu, Allah Hay, 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 Allah Hay, Ya Qayyum, Allah Hay, Ya Qayyum, Allahu, Allah Hay, Allahu, Allah Hay, Allah Hay, Ya Qayyum, Allah Hay, Ya Qayyum. a luminous white light falls down into your heart. And from your heart, a cord of white light flows and reaches the heart of the Prophet Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم. اللهم صل على 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 محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم. Blessings and peace be upon the Prophet and his family, and all the prophets and their families. The luminous white light flows down to your stomach, and with every wave there is a sound, and with every sound there is a wave. هم الأمر وجل نصرف علينا لا ينصرون. The luminous white light flows down to your belly, all the way down to the base of your spine. And we have created from the water everything living. Hai, living. Hai, 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 hai. يا حي يا قيوم 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 يا حي يا قيوم. The luminous white light is flowing down your crown, your spine, your knees, and your feet, deep into the earth. والقلم وما يسطرون ما أنت بنعمة ربك بمجنون وإنك لعلى خلق عظيم. إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون. فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون. And transcendent is He. If He wills something, He simply says, be to it, and it becomes. So transcendent is He, the one whose hands belong everything, and to Him you shall return. Maintain your stillness and your awareness, and gently raise your hands with your palms facing outwards. And imagine a picture frame in front of you. Imagine your mother, your father, standing in the picture frame looking back at you, your siblings, your sisters, your brothers, your children, your friends, colleagues, any person you're having a difficult moment with, your spouse, partner. Imagine them all in the picture frame in front of you, and silently repeat after me. Assalamu alaikum. The Muhammadan light within me recognizes the Muhammadan light within you. The Muhammadan light within me honors the Muhammadan light within you. We all make mistakes, and we are all children of Adam, and we are all spiritually evolving. Evolution takes time, process, and lots of mistakes. I have had my share of mistakes and learned from them. So can you. To all those who have hurt me, in whatever way you've hurt me, you are all completely forgiven. You are all completely forgiven. You are all completely forgiven. It is forgotten. Allah's peace and love be with me. Allah's peace and love be with you. Allah's peace and love be with my soul. Allah's peace and love be with your soul. Allahumma, I too ask you for your forgiveness. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. Thank you for your forgiveness. And so, I forgive myself as well. And so, I forgive myself as well. And so, I forgive myself as well. Imagine now a pink, golden light flowing from your heart, from your crown to your heart to your hands, towards the picture frame in front of you. May you all be blessed with waves of love, with waves of light, with waves of peace. May you all be blessed with inner healing, with inner peace, with inner transformation. May you all be blessed with good health, with goodwill, and the will to do good. May you all be blessed with maturity, emotional maturity, mental maturity, and spiritual maturity. May you all be blessed with spirituality, abundance, and prosperity. Thank you for being my companions in the school of life. And when I pass away, I will share what I've learned with my loved ones. Thank you for these valuable lessons. Thank you for these valuable lessons. Thank you for these valuable lessons. I release you with love. I release you now with love. I release you now with love. Go in peace. Go in peace. Go in peace. And now, let us continue to bless our homes, every room in our homes, every corner of our homes. Be blessed with divine love, with divine light, divine peace, and divine protection. Bless our neighborhoods with divine love, divine light, and divine peace. Bless our communities, our cities, our countries, and the entire planet Earth. Bless every person and every being with divine love, with divine light, divine power, divine protection, divine guidance, and divine peace. As the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, show mercy to those on earth, those in the heavens will show mercy upon you. Bless the entire earth, every person and every being with mercy. Bless the entire earth, every person and every being with rains of mercy, with showers of mercy. Bless the entire earth, every person and every being with streams of mercy, with rivers of mercy, and oceans of mercy. Flood the entire earth, every person and every being with divine mercy, with divine love, divine light, divine peace, and divine guidance. Bless them with oceans of joy, with oceans of love, with oceans of light, with oceans of peace, and oceans of mercy. Bless those who are sad. Bless those who are in pain. Bless those who are suffering. Bless them with divine love, with divine light, with divine mercy, divine peace. Where there is darkness, let there be light. Where there is sadness, let there be joy. Where there is anger, let there be forgiveness. Where there is hatred, let there be love. Where there is despair, let there be hope. Where there is fear, let there be peace. Where there is war, let there be peace. Where there is ignorance, let there be knowledge. Where there is confusion, let there be clarity. Where there is misguidance, let there be guidance. Bless the entire earth, every person and every being with waves of mercy, with waves of love, with waves of peace, with inner healing, with inner peace, and inner transformation. Continue imagining a golden light flowing down your crown to your heart, towards the earth in front of you. I am an instrument of divine mercy, as is all the prophets of God, instruments of divine mercy, the angels and the saints, all instruments of divine mercy. My Lord, you have given me from your power and you have taught me the interpretation of the dreams. O originator of the heavens and the earth, you are my friend and ally in this life and the next. Accept me in a state of submission and make me follow the righteous. You may now lower your hands and imagine again the luminous golden light flowing down your crown, your spine, all the way down to your knees and your feet, deep into the earth. My body is connected and rooted to Mother Earth. I am the steward of Allah, rooted in Mother Earth. I am the steward of Allah, rooted in Mother Earth. Imagine luminous golden light going down all the way down your feet, deep, deep roots into the earth, flushing away all stress, worries, fears, and sins deep into the earth right now. Bring your attention back to your heart. To Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we humbly thank you for these divine blessings, your divine love, your divine light, your divine power, and your divine healing energy. To the Prophet Muhammad, to all the holy messengers of Allah, archangels, holy angels, healing angels, to all the saints, to my spiritual teacher, and all the spiritual teachers, we thank you for divine blessings, your divine love, your divine intercession, your divine care, and your divine healing energy. And to my higher self and my heart, thank you for being so kind and generous with me, and so patient, despite all my foolishness. Thanks and full faith, and gratitude and love. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين Gently move your fingers, your toes, until your consciousness returns fully into your body right now. And gently, you may open your eyes when you are ready. Take a deep breath and let go. All right. Welcome back, everybody. So, inshallah, we're done for today. Thank you, everybody, for attending the Alchemy of Sound meditation. I hope to see you next week, same time. I'd like to also notify you that I'll be teaching a class, Mirage Healing Level 1. The Level 1 will be 2-day course on the 30th and 31st of May. So after Eid, the weekend after Eid, inshallah. And through Level 1, we can learn more about, for those who are interested in learning about energy and how to use this energy in their day-to-day lives, and with their prayers, when they pray, when they going about the daily, just this energy consciousness can really help you to ground you in your spirituality. And it's also a tool that you could use to unblock the energy centers and bring about a shift of consciousness for you and your loved ones. So there's more information on the Instagram and on Facebook. So if you're interested, you may send me a direct message and I can send you the link to register for the course. And so inshallah, looking forward to seeing a new group of energy healers, inshallah, Mirage healers. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, you may just send me a message on the chat. And